Hi guys, Dan here, hope you're doing well. Here's a quick guide to string bending and vibrato. There are a couple of types of string bends which I'll show you, but generally you want to be using more than one finger. So use your second and third finger, and let's go to the 14th fret of the G string. And yeah, it might be a little bit unusual to fret with two fingers, but do that. Get a little bit more under the string, and whereas normally you'd have, you know, your thumb behind roughly the second finger, and it would be behind the neck. Here, when you're bending, you want to maybe even get it over the top because you want to really squeeze and get that bend. You're really pushing the string into the fretboard and upwards. And if you've never done this before, it will be awkward and it will take a bit of time to get this. You've got more or less two types of bends in terms of the note you bend to. So if you just play the 14th fret, it's an A. One fret higher is a semitone. So one bend is where you bend in this case, the 14th fret just up one semitone. So in many ways you have to use your ear, and also you'll be able to feel the distance your finger needs to go to get that semitone. Now if you play a minor pentatonic scale from the E, I'm playing my 5 string today, but I'll try and be really clear with this. So fret 12 on the E string, and you go 12, 15, then 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14. Perfect scale to practice this, because that bend at the top just adds the blues note in there, so it turns it into a blues scale. So that would be a semitone bend. So again, I've got my thumb higher up the neck. I'm right sort of underneath the string, pushing in and just really squeezing, but not too much because I only want, as I said, that semitone sound. And there are different ways that you can bend a string. So you can go up, you get that really sort of dark sound there. You can hold it there. You can even do a pre-bend. So I've already bent the string up and I'm going to play and then release. So. There's another one there. I bent up a semitone and then down. Right, let's do a tone bend. So if you've got a semitone is 1 fret away, this would be a tone. Now this is harder to do. I've just changed the action on this bass. It's usually quite low. I've made it a bit higher, which makes it much more difficult for me. And these strings, I think they are 45 to 105. So lighter gauge strings and a sort of easier lower setup will make this much easier to do. If you listen to Mark King, he'll bend a string even beyond a tone. So now I want that sound when I'm bending. Same principle of really getting those fingers underneath. Now that one takes a lot of strength. So as I said, if you haven't done this before, it will take you a bit of time to do this, you know, because fretting a note is one thing, and that's why you need to use more than one finger. That's why you need 2 fingers, and the 2 and the 3, the second and the third fingers, they're strong. I recommend you do things like that as well, just to practice, just make some music from it. So that's why I'm just using that minor pentatonic scale with the blues scale. So you can start to make music with this. So you've got your semitone or half step bend and then your whole step bend, pretty much performed the same way. Now to use this in context a little more, you can just work out a scale. So, and I'll show you a slightly different technique to do a bend now. So all I'm doing there is just an E natural minor scale on the 7th fret of the A string. Now anywhere that you can see 2 notes right side by side, you can do a semitone bend, and anywhere where there's a gap or a tone or a whole tone, you can do a whole tone bend. So here's another way of bending. Instead of getting my fingers sort of underneath and pushing upwards, you can do opposite and push down towards the floor. So I just play the first note of the E major scale, A minor scale. Go to the second note and notice I'm using my second and third fingers right bunched up next to each other. dragging this string. Be sure not to slip off. Now if I'm bending that way, I'm pushing down onto the sort of top of the string as I look down, and the opposite way if I'm bending up. So it doesn't really matter which way you bend. Now obviously if I'm on the G string, I'm not going to be bending in that direction. And equally, if I was on the, ignore the 5th string for a second, if I was on the E string, I'd be, you want to bend in that direction. So make sure you got that down. The one thing you can practice is just to do a semitone bend where you see notes right next to each other. Okay, now let's just move on to vibrato. This came from a question actually. Someone wanted a detailed video on string bending and vibrato. And they're often used in conjunction with hammer-ons and slides and all the other articulations. So don't forget those because they'll make your bass playing sound really amazing. But a vibrato movement is actually very related to string bending. So if I just, again, there's a couple of different ways. I'll show you this one. It's almost like a series of rapid bends. Now you can alter the depth and the rate, so how far you bend up and down, and the speed. And everyone's vibrato is unique. For me, I would never play what I just did there. It was too fast and too wide. You know, I like to use vibrato in a certain way, and you'll use it in the way that you use it. So, you know, nice, slow, gentle vibrato there. So that's one way, which is where you just almost like do bends up and down to whatever speed you want. And another way, I think that way, to me, is a bit more musical. And that's where you're pressing down into the fret as normal. My thumb's at the back of the neck, it's not moving, exerting pressure against that. And then sort of wiggling your finger in the plane of the string. It's not sliding up and down, it's staying in a fixed point. And with this one, you want to use one finger, and you want to be able to use your first, your second, your third, or your fourth, not any particular finger. Each one should be equally as strong when it comes to vibrato. So what I recommend you do is you really get that under your fingers, and then you start to make music with it. Add it with your other articulations, so your hammer-ons, your pull-offs, slides, ghost notes, things like that. And just get a simple scale and start improvising. So I'm going to take an E Dorian mode. Those two notes there, they're a semitone apart. So let's practice bending from that note to that note. Now the tension of the bass strings will be different depending on where you are. It's quite hard to bend around this part, so I'm just going to move up here. And this is used a lot in blues and rock, and that's sort of the style I'm playing at the moment. If I were to play just a traditional bass line in a band setting, perhaps I wouldn't be playing as, well, you know, I'm teaching you how to do it in this lesson, so I'm overdoing it. I might use all of these techniques quite subtly, but it's up to you how you use it. Do what you like, do what your ear's telling you. So you can hear the slides there and the hammer-ons and the pull-offs as well. That's how I like to use articulations. Is I'm not thinking about it actually at all as I'm playing. You just practice these things, so you internalize them and you call on them when the desire hits you. And that's why you practice to not have to think about any of these things. Right, so I hope you got something from that. Thanks very much for watching. Please do subscribe, like and share. That would be really great. Let me know in the comments below if you want any lessons on anything else, and I'll see you on the next one.